What is your purpose? That is a big question, and can be a very challenging question to answer. But what's an even bigger question is how do you bring that purpose to life? How do you live your purpose? I'm Mindy Odland, the founder of the What If Up Club, and I have with me today special guest, What If Upper Sarah Byrd. Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It is great to have you here. So, Sarah is a life coach, a transformational life coach. She is also a practicing Buddhist. She has been studying, you have been immersed in this work. I remember you saying since you were 13 years old, like this has been a lifelong pursuit of spirituality and what is the meaning of life and some of those deep, deep questions. I know you're also studying at Harvard University in research psychology. You're also studying at Naropa University in clinical counseling. And you have a program called Find Your Purpose, Live Your Purpose. And that's what we're talking about today. So, Sarah, welcome. I know, like I said, I know you've been studying this like your entire life. We've known each other for a really long time, and I
Yeah.
know this is life work for you. Um, Finding your purpose is something that we all, I think, at some point, most of us think about at some point in our life. But you've taken it a step beyond. So it's not just about knowing your purpose; it's about actually living it and expressing it. So, what's happened in your life, and how did you get so passionate about this topic?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much for the introduction. I have been studying this for most of my life and really been on a transformational journey myself, and have really dedicated my personal, my professional, my academic, my entire life to personal development and this kind of purpose work. So it's very exciting for me. I obviously have a passion for it. And even though I've been studying it for a long time, we all have those moments in our lives that are kind of those turning points for going from kind of the status quo, the way things have always been, just kind of settling in life. And then something can happen and it can awaken and spark that rejuvenation for your passion in life. So for me, about a year and a half ago, my younger brother passed away in a motorcycle accident. He was only 21 years old. It was really tough, really tragic. But one of the things that came out of it was that it became that turning point for me. I had been kind of just going along with life and had all these ideas for what I wanted to do. I had these big goals, these big dreams. I kind of knew my purpose, but I wasn't necessarily taking action steps towards them. I kind of thought, one day I'll get to them, or that's a great idea, but, who am I to do this? Or I don't have the resources. It's not the right time. All those messages we tell ourselves that hold us back from actually living out our purpose. So when this event happened, that obviously changed everything. And the big takeaway I got, what I realized is that we're not guaranteed to live as long as we think we are. Hopefully we all live to, 120 or whatever we want, but we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so if I want to actually do those things in my life, if that is my purpose, if those are my goals, then I need to get to them. I need to start doing them and I need to start now. So it really re-sparked this idea in me that there's no time like the present. It's now or never. Like, let's get to it. And that's what got me to today.
Well, I mean, that's a beautiful story because I've known you for a long time, and to see all the things that you've done in the past, and now to see just the fire within you to bring this work out, and like now is the time. And I'm guessing
Yeah.
I want to welcome everyone who's watching. I see lots of eyeballs watching us and lots of comments coming in. So greetings from Wichita, Kansas. Greetings from Bend, Oregon. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for checking in. Can you relate? So if any of you are out there and you're like, oh yeah, I've done the work, I've explored my purpose, I've explored my passions, and now it's time. It's like now is the time. So Sarah, what do you think stops us? What's the biggest challenge? What's the biggest hurdle that you see people having to overcome in order to make that shift from knowing your purpose to actually living and expressing it?
Yeah, great question. People do get stuck on this. And I think one of the biggest things that people have is that when they look at what they want to do, where they want to go, what their purposes, their dreams, their desires, and then they compare it to their life now, it can be a big gap from where they are now to where they want to be. And so I remember finding myself asking, where do I even start? how do I get started? What do I even do? I know I have these big goals. I know I have these big dreams, but I don't even know how to start. So I actually have some really good tips for helping you navigate that transition and knowing how to start. So if it's okay with you, I'll just dive right into those.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the how-to bit, and just want to do another shout out because Karen is here. Hi, Karen. Thanks for checking in. And as we are going through these tips, I'm so excited about these tips that you have to get us going. So as we do this, if you have any possibilities you want to share, if you have any of your own personal tips, put them in the comments because we are a community. We collaborate, we grow together. So okay, I'm ready. A little drum roll here. So tip number one for not just knowing your purpose, your passion, but actually living it and expressing it. What's your first tip?
Yeah, so the first tip would really be to cultivate a deep spiritual connection.
Mm.
And we all have that, divine light within us. We all have that spirituality within us. I'm sure people who are attracted to your community, I know I am, are here because they are interested in spirituality and feel that. And so the way I like to describe this is by connecting with your intuition. And we hear this a lot, intuition. I was thinking about this recently of like, what really is intuition? Does it mean you're psychic? Does it mean you have this whisper in your ear? It's like, maybe not. I don't have those things personally. So I define intuition and having that deep spiritual connection as learning how to listen to yourself, like really truly listen, and then trusting that message, trusting what you hear. And
I get little
so
goosebumps when you say trusting. That for me has been one of my biggest stumbling blocks is
Mm,
I will do the meditations and do the reflection and the journaling and my spiritual practice, and I'll have it in my head, and then I'll get that little trigger outside that says, "Oh, well, that's not what you should call it, or that's not what you should do." And then I question it. So I
mhm.
love this idea of intuition and then trusting your intuition. It's really powerful.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is the thing is like we have these big goals and dreams and then society tells us like who are you or you're not perfect or look they've already done it or
Big,
all
it's
these
not big
messages.
enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And so listening to yourself and then actually trusting it and moving forward with that is going to help you get that aligned action. So one way that you can actually cultivate your intuition, cultivate that listening and trusting yourself is by using mindfulness to be
Mm.
present, to learn to practice being present with yourself, with your own experience. I have a background in Buddhism, and so my version of mindfulness is meditation, but yours could be yoga, it could be going for a walk, spending time in nature, whatever that practice is for you. But what's going to happen when you start practicing mindfulness is that all those messages from the outside world, they're all going to start to fade away. It's like it blocks out the noise and it brings you back to you. It's like, have you ever used noise canceling headphones? All of a
Yes.
sudden, it's like everything else just gets quiet and silent, and like you could start to hear you. So that would be my
Oh, I
first tip:
love
is
that.
cultivate a spiritual connection and use your
You know, and
intuition
and
during
as
that.
you're sharing this, what I'm thinking about is in our What If Up Club, one of the things that we do, and we
Mhm.
talk about in our creative process, wisdom is sort of the word that we use for that inner awareness and the way we activate that in a group, which is kind of an interesting way to look at this. So in a group, we share these ideas, but the intent is not to do everything that the people in your group are telling you to do. The intent is to allow those ideas to land and to notice where they land. So
Mhm.
that's how we tap into mindfulness is, what happens? I discovered this for myself when I went to have like an astrology reading. Like I was in my 20s and
Ooh,
I was in
cool.
London and stopped at, this place in the market and got my astrology read. And as she was sharing, her insights about what my future, who I was and what my personality was and where my future was leading me, I had this voice in my head that was going, yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. No, that's not. No, that's not. Yes, that's true. No, that's
Mm,
not. And I'm like, oh, so all I really need is someone to reflect me and notice what feels what feels true. And so
yeah.
the What If Up Club is a great place to practice that, as well as obviously having solo time, reflection time, walks in nature, all those wonderful
Yeah.
things. So love that. Okay, great tip. So we're going to activate our intuition, trust our intuition, and then that leads us to tip number 2.
Yeah. So the next step, so now that we have a real strong connection with spirit, which is the voice coming through us, Now we get to have a really deep connection with ourself. And this is slightly different than your intuition, because the intuition is like that still small voice within that's coming from the divine. You're cultivating your relationship with yourself can really come from knowing your core values. And not a lot of people sit down and actually write out their core values. Some people do, and it's a great exercise. So, knowing your core values gives you a clear path in life. It's like trying to go to a destination with a map that doesn't have any directions. It's like, where do I go? Where do I start? But once you have your core values and you know who you are, you can start to trust that all of your decisions will be in alignment with that. And
Mm.
so your core values becomes your map, your guidance system from where you are to where you want to be. And that can be really helpful. So, how do you know your core values? How do you discover these and find these? Have you ever done core value work, Mindy?
Yeah, I
Certainly you have.
have, I have, and I have 3 that have kind of led me, and I think the way we did it is, just kinda looking at a list and then, again, using sort of mindfulness in combination of
Yeah.
what might it be, and I have 3, I'll share 'em after you share this tip, that are my North Star.
Mhm.
So, how do you do it? What's your process for identifying core values?
I love that. So I do have a whole process that I guide my clients through, which is a bit lengthy for this, but it does start with looking at a list and like seeing which ones pop out at you, which ones stand out and go, yeah, those really sink in. There's a whole other set of questions, but one of my favorite questions you can ask yourself once you have that kind of list that pops out is envisioning yourself as the person who already has your goals and dreams.
I
Envisioning
love that.
yourself as that future highest and best version of you, the person that you want to be. And then looking at that version of you and saying, what core values do I embody as that person? What
Mm.
core values am I embodying there as that version of myself? And then you can start to align your life with those core values, and it will take you necessarily. There's no other direction to go, but it'll take you there to your desires.
I love that, and I love that I can maneuver that backwards because I have my 3 values, and what I'm hearing is if I could see myself, like, what is the fullest expression of these values? Is that the person that I am aspiring to be? So for
Yeah.
me, it's about authenticity, excellence, and fun. Those are my 3 that if
Ooh, I
I can
love those.
balance those in my life, then I feel like I'm fully being expressed, and as you're sharing this, I'm like, "Oh, okay, if I think about the woman that is, this authentically expressed, fun person who also has a drive to create things with excellence, like, oh, that feels really good. That feels very much in alignment with who I am. What about you? Like, what would you say your top value is or your top values?
Yeah, I think authenticity is in there. I've got a list. I actually have them hanging on my wall, but I have about
Nice.
10, so it's a bit ambitious,
Yeah.
a bit much, but these are the things that I always refer back to bring into my life. But I would say probably the number one and number two are authenticity. That's really important to me, which connects to mindfulness and knowing my intuition. And then the other one for me is really about equality, social
Mhm.
justice, really making sure that, we all are empowered. So that one's really important to me too.
I love it. So, as you know, because you're in our community and I've been sharing about this, I'm reading the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. And this ties into what he did. He had his list of virtues. And for each virtue, he was very well read. He noticed, these all these traits that he aspired to be. He aspired to live a virtuous life. And so he would take the word and then he would say, this is what it looks like when
Mm.
this value is expressed in like a sentence, like it's real simple. And then he created this little chart where he had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He had every day of the week, and then he had every one of his virtues. And he decided his goal was to live in 100% integrity with his virtues. And so he would pick one of them over the course of a week. And anytime he noticed himself straying from that virtue, he'd put a little tick mark on it. And then once he got through the whole week with no little tick marks on that virtue, then he would go to the next one and double up
Wow.
and double up and double up. And he said in doing so, he said he didn't realize how far off of his values he actually was until he started doing this. And I think that's the
Wow.
power of it is when we are really clear on what our values are and when we're really honest, what does it look like and am I being that? It gives us something to work towards. So I
Wow. I
love
love
this.
that.
Isn't that great?
That's quite the dedication. I have been really interested in that book since you said you were reading it. And
Yeah,
that's
he
one of
spent
the
a
things.
lifetime working on that.
It's
So
incredible. The other thing that brought up for me, yeah, I don't remember, but when it comes back to me, I'll share it.
it'll come back, come back.
Yeah.
So values, virtues, living your purpose, and obviously, Benjamin Franklin, I'd say he did that pretty well, and he had the value of retrospect. So it's nice to be able to get in front of it and
Yeah.
create it, as opposed to just reflecting back on it. So that's your second tip. Third tip for living your purpose and your passion.
Yeah, so this one is we kind of started at the beginning with this idea that you have a vision. You've got this idea, you know your desires, your dreams, your goals. But a lot of us actually don't really know what that looks like. It's like, yeah, I might do this one day, or I have that idea, or that seems fun, or, I would love to do this. But actually getting super clear about your desires helps clarify the pathway to it. So, this third tip is all about actually getting clear about your desires for your future and mapping that out. What does that actually look like? What are my metrics for success? How will I know when I've achieved it? And the way I like to do this, because it's really easy to set goals, but get caught up in the limitations. And this is the power of what if upping is it blows past those limitations. But a lot of people will set goals and then say, yeah, but, or someday, or when I have the resources, or when it's the right time, or have all these limitations on their goals so that their desires and dreams become smaller and smaller. So this tip is about opening up your desires for your future. Once you align with your highest and best version of yourself, you can envision this highest and best version of your life, this dream life where everything that you could ever possibly desire manifests, and it manifests better than you could ever imagine. So once you've got kind of that vision, then you can start to feel what it feels like to be there. I know when I do what if upping, and Mindy, you've probably experienced this too, or the creator of it, it's like, it's one thing to think about something like, oh yeah, that would be cool. But then once you start going, it gets really exciting. And then you
Yeah,
feel this energy within you. You get really
there's a
aligned.
momentum. Yeah, there's the momentum that starts in thought. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then the feeling, I think in your chart, the feeling comes after that of like feeling really energized and really good. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
connecting with that vision, and then really feeling it, like embodying it fully, even though you haven't created it now, you're not experiencing it now, just feeling the potential of that experience will help you move in that direction. Then you can ask yourself, if I'm already there from this feeling, what are the actions? What steps can I take to get me there? And then just take that one next step, that one next action.
I love that. And we talk about this a lot. Whenever we have a what if up circle, the first question is always, what do you want? And that is a clarifying question, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at your purpose or looking at your values and all these different things, like, okay, what does that actually look like in terms of physical manifest expression in the world? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's easy to talk about big nebulous ideas. And that's where we get people saying, oh, that's just all woo woo airy fairy stuff. But when we can start there and then, it's like Thoreau saying, build your castles in the air and then put the foundation underneath it. And this is what I'm hearing as a foundation piece
Yeah.
is here's the vision. Now, what does it look like so I can take the actions that align with it?
Yeah, and
So,
when you're planning your actions, this is what I love about what if up circles and the what if up process. When you're planning your actions and you're doing it from your mind, that's where those limitations can come in. That's where it's
mhm,
like our imagination is wonderful, but if you can combine imagination with the feeling of potential, the feeling of possibility, and connect the mind and the heart, then those actions become aligned with your purpose. It's not
yes,
just what's the practical next thing to do. It's what's the right next thing to do. What's the most
yes,
powerful next thing to do. So
yeah.
that feeling and the heart and the mind coming together is really where you can make that most momentum.
I love that, and that's one of the reasons I love the groups, this having the circles, because I can do this on my own, and when I do this on my own, it's powerful. I mean, I'll journal
Sure.
and I can get kind of spun up in my head though, and what I find is when there's another person in front of me, especially a person who's sharing what if possibilities, and I can voice those limiting thoughts. Oh, but I can't. This actually happened to me today. I was journaling, like, here's what I want to create, getting some clarity. I'm like living my purpose. Like, I want to like live this message today. So I'm writing down, like, here's what I'm seeing. And then I'm like, oh, but if I'm going to do that, then I can't do that because I can't have both. And then I thought, well, what if I could? And I'm like, what if I went to a group and said, okay, I want this and I want this. And it seems like you can't do both, but I want both. So what are the possibilities there? And to just be able to say, I'm seeing it as a limitation, but I know somewhere there's an idea, there's a possibility that allows all those things to happen. Is there someone in the world who has both of those things? Absolutely. So how do I step into that? And we can do a lot on our own, and we can magnify it when we come together with each other. So that's
I love
a
that.
great tool. Great tip.
I mean,
Love
what
it.
if upping has helped me tremendously and throughout the
Well,
years,
share
like you
more.
said.
So in what ways?
Yeah, so one model that I really like in psychology, because I am studying psychology and clinical counseling right now, and there's this model called the cognitive triad of depression. Now, stay with me; it doesn't sound very fun, but there's the idea of the cognitive triad of depression, and basically what it says is there's 3 points that you can go on. And so, if you have a negative perception of yourself, a negative perception of others in the world, and a negative perception of your future, that is going to lead to depression. So if you can flip that, which is where the what if up comes in, and have just this unlimited potential of a positive view of yourself, a positive view of others in the world, and a positive view of your future, then that leads to fulfillment. That leads to fulfilling your purpose, living it out, actually experiencing it, and having this full, self-actualized life. And so what if upping takes you, it just flips that cognitive spiral, whether it's thoughts, whether it's feelings, whatever it is that you're having, instead of going down, it turns it around and brings it up. And
I
so from a
love that.
scientific, like clinical counseling, psychology perspective, what if upping works? It helps you get out of your downward spiral and opens you up to more potential than you could imagine.
That is awesome. I'm gonna have to look into that. So what is the name of that theory
It's
again?
Yeah, it's called Beck's cognitive triad of depression. So Aaron Beck is a psychiatrist who developed he kind of found these 3 underlying factors in his clients with depression. And
Yeah.
so I like to flip it over, and then I actually add a 4th one, and I call it Byrd's, cognitive quadrant of fulfillment or whatever. I changed it to my name. And so it's a positive view of yourself, a positive view of others, positive view of your future, and having a deep spiritual connection. That was the piece that I found
Mm,
missing. And
yeah.
so those 4 elements, those actually create the core pillars of my business and the work that I do with clients. So
Oh, that's
fun stuff.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love just flipping that upside down, because if one thing leads to depression, then like what happens when you step into the polar opposite of that is
Yeah.
joy, it's resilience, it's being able to deal with hardship and challenge, it's being able to experience the ups and downs without going into those deep dark places, to be able
Yeah.
to find joy and happiness and all those wonderful things that we experience when we come together.
Yeah.
So that's a fabulous
Love
tool.
it.
So thank you for sharing that, and thank you all for being here. So for those of you who are watching, thank you for joining us. What ideas do you have for living your purpose, finding your purpose? What's your wisdom? What have you done? What are your values? Pop them into the comments and let us know what's resonating with you, and what's kind of standing out as an aha moment. I'm having lots of aha moments with you, Sarah. So for those of you who are not part of our What If Up community, it is a free community, and it's an awesome place to like flip that triangle around, right? So you can join us if you haven't already at whatifup.org, and we have a wonderful online community, small groups. In fact, tonight is our members mastermind, open to all of our members at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. And this Saturday, for those of you that are interested in starting a local club or an online club, join us Saturday. We're doing a small group training, and I'll show you how to do it. Here's how you get a group going so that you can have these kinds of impacts on each other's lives. So not only does it impact your life, but it impacts others as well. So that ripple just goes and goes and goes. So every week we have a challenge. Last week, it was the Give It Up Challenge for Lent, right? So we were kicking off the Lent season. And I want to congratulate a new member joins the What If Up Club and boom, nails the challenge all in the same week. Jacqueline, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name right, Jacqueline. And the last name, it looks like, from the South, we're from Texas, we would say manger, but I don't know, maybe it's manger. I don't know if it's French. I don't know how you say your last name, but Jacqueline, welcome to our community and congratulations. You won the challenge this week. She is in Brisbane, Australia.
Nice.
So in the land down under, they are what if upping. What if upping down under? I like that. So this week's challenge, I love this idea that you have, Sarah, about creating the vision, embodying the vision, and living into that vision. Yeah. So one of the ways that we've done that in our community, as you know, is we doodle. We love to doodle. Doodling is a meditative process in our world where you can translate what's going on in your head into something that is visuals, and visual meaning pictures, words, dialogue boxes, feel good words, all those types of things you can put onto a doodle. So the challenge this week is to doodle your purpose and then share it, take a picture of it, share it in our community, and let us know what your purpose is, at least to the best of your ability. So talk a little bit about that, Sarah. So if someone's like, well, this might be it, I don't know if this is totally it, what would you share with people who are kind of like, I don't know if I want to put it out there because I might want to change my mind later? How do you approach that?
Yeah, that comes up a lot. And what I always say is that your purpose is fluid. We're always living into a new version of ourselves, a new version of our potential every single day. And our purpose is a part of that. So if your purpose changes, no problem. That's great. Move on to the next thing. And so when you're doodling, which I love the doodling, I've been a What If Up member for a long time. So the doodling is really fun. If you're doodling and you're like, well, I don't know if this is the end all be all, but right now this is really speaking to me, that's your purpose in that moment. So yeah.
I love it. I love
All
it. And so
good.
this week in our community, there's a place we can go. It says this week's challenge. Go to the tab that says challenges. It'll say this week's challenges. There you go. You click on join. It'll say take on the challenge. You just post your doodle. Let us know what your purpose is, at least for this moment, and knowing that everything can be subject to change. And based on the algorithm, and I think the algorithm is just based on how much you engage in our community. We have winners selected every week. And next Wednesday, when we announce the winner, the fabulous grand prize is, Sarah, what will you be dishing out as our grand prize for next week?
I'm very happy to offer you will win a breakthrough session with me where we will take a look at what your desires are, what your goals are, what might be holding you back, and what next steps you can take towards making that a reality for you. So we'll have a one-on-one coaching session. It'll be a lot of fun.
That sounds so awesome. Yeah. So if you want to learn more about Sarah, she is on Instagram. That's your @. So Sarah Byrd Coaching, Sarah with an H, Byrd with a Y. And you can also go to sarahbyrdcoaching.com if you want to learn more about Sarah's coaching practices and maybe like getting a little coaching on your purpose and your passion so that you can bring it to life. So thanks so much for joining me, Sarah. This has been so much fun. We always wrap up each session with some what if upping on our topic of the day. So for those of you that are watching live, post some what ifs. What are your possibilities for living a life of purpose and passion? Not just knowing it, but living it. What are some possibilities that come up for you?
So what if your purpose is bigger than you ever could have imagined?
Yes.
What if it makes an impact on people more than you could even think?
What if other people can see it so clearly? What if you're feeling stuck, you reach out to others and say, what do you think my purpose is? What if it comes to you with absolute clarity and ease and just like a fire hose, it's right in front of you? I love that. Oh, and here's some possibilities from our community. I love it. What if I am now able to be more clear on my purpose thanks to Sarah and your fabulous information? Also, I like this. Purpose is flow. I purchased a new set of markers, ready for some doodling.
Hey.
Yes. I have boom, all my collection of markers. I am ready to doodle at any given moment. Purpose is fluid. I like this. Purpose is fluid. That's a good one. Compassion, fun, creativity. Love these core values. Very powerful information. Thank you so much for sharing. Here's some what ifs. What if my purpose becomes so crystal clear? The next step is so easy, so clear. What if exploring my purpose is fun? What if this is the ultimate joy? What if this is the ultimate fulfillment, is stepping into who you are at a soul level? Doesn't that feel good?
Oh, I love this so much.
I do too. So thank you, Sarah. It's been a blast having you with me today. Thank you all for
Thank
joining. And I look forward to seeing you all next week right here on What If Wednesday. Bye, everybody. Bye.